"I've never felt like this before," she admitted, and the cowboy held her gently through the night. The cowboy had lived alone for a long time. His small ranch sat far from the busy part of town, surrounded by open land and quiet skies. Every morning he woke before sunrise, fed his horses, checked the fences, and worked until the sun went down. Life was simple, steady, and silent. He did not complain about the loneliness, but it followed him everywhere like a shadow he had learned to live with. People in town knew him as a kind man, though distant. He spoke little, smiled rarely, and never shared his personal life. Some said he had lost someone long ago. Others believed he simply liked being alone. The truth was quieter than rumors. He had been hurt before, deeply, and the pain had taught him to keep his heart guarded. Out on the ranch with only the wind and animals for company, he felt safe from disappointment. That evening, he rode into town to pick up supplies. The sky was turning orange and purple, and a cold breeze moved through the streets. As he tied his horse outside the old roadside cafe, something caught his attention. A woman was sitting on the low step near the entrance, her coat pulled tightly around her. She looked tired, not just in her body, but in her soul. Her eyes stared at the ground as if she was afraid to look up and see the world judging her again. The cowboy hesitated. He was not the type to interfere in other people's lives. Still, something about her felt different. She did not look dangerous or dishonest. She looked lost. He walked past her toward the cafe, then stopped. He turned back slowly. "Ma'am," he said softly, careful not to scare her. "Are you all right?" She looked up quickly, startled. Her eyes were filled with fear at first, then confusion. She shook her head but did not speak. "It's cold out here," he added. "Hey!" For a moment she said nothing outside the slate. For a moment she said nothing. Then her voice came out quiet and shaky. "I'm fine, just resting." The cowboy could tell she was not fine. Her hands trembled slightly, and her clothes were worn, as if she had been traveling without rest. He did not push her for answers. Instead he nodded. "If you need a warm meal," he said, "the cafe's still open. I don't have much money." "That's all right," he replied. "I was going in anyway." She studied his face, perhaps looking for signs of danger or lies. Finding none, she stood slowly and followed him inside. The cafe was small and quiet, with only a few people scattered around. They sat at a corner table. He ordered soup and bread for both of them. When the food arrived, she stared at it for a moment before eating, as if she had forgotten what kindness felt like. They ate in silence at first. The cowboy did not ask questions. He knew some stories needed time. After a while she spoke. "I didn't plan to end up here," she said quietly. "Life just fell apart." He listened, his attention fully on her. She told him about leaving a place that no longer felt safe, about broken promises, about nights spent wondering if anyone would notice if she disappeared. She did not give details, and he did not ask for them. He understood that pain did not need explanation to be real. When she finished, she looked embarrassed, as if she had said too much. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I shouldn't have said all that." "It's all right," he said gently. "Sometimes talking helps." The cafe owner began wiping tables, preparing to close. The woman glanced toward the door, worry returning to her face. "I should go," she said. "I don't know where, but I'll figure it out." The cowboy felt a familiar heaviness in his chest. He remembered nights when he had nowhere to go but forward, pretending strength was enough. "You can stay at my place tonight," he said calmly. "I've got a spare room, just for rest." Her eyes widened. I don't even know you. I just don't like the idea of you out there alone tonight." She searched his face again. After a long pause, she nodded. The ride to the ranch was quiet. She sat behind him on the horse, holding the saddle carefully, leaving space between them. The stars stretched wide above them, and for the first time in days, she felt a strange sense of calm. When they arrived, he showed her the guest room. It was simple, but clean, with a small lamp and a warm blanket. She stood at the doorway, unsure. "Thank you," she said softly. "For everything, you're welcome," he replied. "Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning." As the door closed, the woman sat on the bed and let out a breath she felt she had been holding for years. She did not know what tomorrow would bring. She did not know if this peace would last. But for that night, she felt safe. In the other room, the cowboy sat quietly, staring at the fire. He didn't understand why he had opened his door so easily. All he knew was that sometimes life placed two broken paths together for a reason. Outside, the wind moved gently across the land, carrying with it the quiet beginning of something neither of them expected. Morning came slowly to the ranch. Pale sunlight slipped through the thin curtains and rested on the wooden floor. The woman woke up suddenly, unsure of where she was. For a brief moment, fear returned, tightening her chest. Then she remembered the quiet cowboy, the warm soup, and the gentle way he had spoken to her the night before. The fear softened, replaced by confusion and cautious hope. She sat up on the bed and listened. The house was quiet but not empty. Somewhere outside she heard the soft sound of animals and the steady rhythm of work. It felt strange to wake up in a place where no one was arguing, where no voices were raised, where nothing felt rushed or threatening. She wrapped the blanket around herself and took a deep breath. After a while she stepped into the hallway. The smell of fresh coffee drifted through the air. In the kitchen, the cowboy stood at the counter, moving slowly, as if he had all the time in the world. He noticed her reflection in the window and turned. "Morning," he said simply. "Good morning," she replied, her voice still unsure. "There's coffee if you want," he said. "And some bread." She nodded and sat at the table. As she sipped the warm drink, she felt her hands stop shaking. The cowboy didn't ask how she slept or what her plans were. He gave her space, the kind that didn't feel cold, only respectful. After breakfast, he pulled on his jacket. "I've got some work to do outside," he said. "You can rest here as long as you need." "I don't want to be a burden," she said quickly. "You're not," he replied without hesitation. "Everyone needs a pause sometimes." She watched him leave through the door, feeling something unfamiliar settle in her chest. No one had spoken to her like that in a long time, without judgment or expectation. Left alone, she wandered slowly through the small house. Everything was simple and practical. There were no fancy decorations, just old photographs, worn furniture, and shelves filled with books that looked like they had been read many times. One picture caught her attention. It showed the cowboy as a younger man, standing beside someone she could not clearly see. The photo was old and slightly torn. She gently placed it back where she found it, sensing it held memories he did not share easily. Outside, the cowboy worked steadily. As he fixed a fence, his thoughts kept drifting back to the woman inside his house. He told himself he had done nothing unusual, just what any decent person would do. Still, he felt unsettled, not with worry, but with something closer to concern. He wondered what kind of life had made her look so tired, so guarded. By late afternoon, clouds rolled in and the air grew heavy. The woman stepped outside, holding a mug of tea. She stood at a distance, unsure if she should interrupt him. He noticed her and nodded toward a nearby bench. "You can sit if you like," he said. She did, watching him work. For a while, neither spoke. Then she said softly, "I'm not used to places like this." "Quiet?" he asked. "Kind," she replied. He paused, then continued working. "Kindness should be normal," he said. "Sadly, it isn't." She nodded. After a moment, she spoke again. "I've been moving from place to place. Every time I think I've found stability, something goes wrong." He wiped his hands and sat across from her. "Sometimes it's not about finding the right place," he said. "It's about finding the right pace." Her eyes filled slightly, but she looked away before tears could fall. As evening approached, rain began to fall gently, tapping against the roof. They ate dinner together, a simple meal. The sound of rain filled the spaces between their words, making silence feel less awkward. Later, as the fire crackled softly, the woman sat near it, her knees pulled close. She stared into the flames, lost in thought. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "Why did you help me?" she asked. "You didn't have to." "Because once," he said slowly, "I wished someone would have done the same for me." She looked at him then, really looked at him, and saw not just a quiet cowboy, but a man who had known pain and chosen not to let it harden him. That night she felt something shift inside her. Not love, not certainty, but trust. And for the first time in a long while, she slept without fear, knowing that whatever tomorrow brought, she was not facing it alone. The rain had stopped by morning, leaving the land fresh and clean. Soft light moved across the open fields, and the air felt lighter than the day before. The woman woke slowly, wrapped in warmth, listening to the quiet sounds of the ranch. For the first time in a long while, she did not rush out of bed. There was no fear pushing her forward, no voice telling her to leave before something went wrong. She dressed carefully and stepped outside. The ground was damp, and the sky held gentle clouds. In the distance, she saw the cowboy near the barn brushing one of the horses. He worked with patience, his movements calm and steady. Watching him brought a strange sense of peace to her, as if his calm was slowly reaching her heart. When he noticed her, he smiled slightly and waved her over. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied, feeling more relaxed than before. They stood together in silence for a moment, the horse breathing softly between them. She reached out slowly and touched its neck. The animal did not move, as if it sensed her need for quiet comfort. "He's gentle," the cowboy said. "Just needs time." "I think I understand that." They spent the morning working side by side. He showed her small tasks, nothing difficult, just enough to keep her hands busy. The simple work helped her mind settle. With every passing hour, her shoulders relaxed and her thoughts slowed. As they rested under the shade of a tree later that day, she finally spoke the words that had been forming inside her. "I've never felt like this before," she said quietly. "This calm, this safety." He looked at her, surprised by her honesty. He did not answer right away. She continued, her voice soft. "Usually I'm always waiting for something to go wrong, but here it feels different." "I don't have many answers," he said, "but I believe when people feel safe, it means something is right." Her eyes filled, but this time she did not turn away. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Not of you, of losing this feeling." "That's understandable," he replied gently. "Nothing lasts forever. But some moments are meant to be lived, not feared." As evening arrived, the sky turned gold and pink. They sat on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The woman wrapped her arms around herself as a cool breeze passed through. "Cold?" he asked. "A little," she said. He hesitated, then gently placed a blanket around her shoulders. The simple gesture made her heart race, not with fear, but with emotion. She leaned slightly closer, unsure but trusting. Night settled quietly. Stars filled the sky like scattered light. Inside, the house glowed warmly. They sat near the fire, speaking little, sharing space instead of words. At some point, the woman's strength faded. The long years of holding herself together finally caught up with her. Tears slipped down her face, silent but heavy. The cowboy noticed and moved closer. He did not ask what hurt or why. He simply sat beside her. "I don't know why I'm crying," she whispered. "Sometimes the body releases what the heart has been holding," he said softly. She nodded, her breathing uneven. Without thinking too much, she leaned toward him. He paused for a moment, giving her space to change her mind. When she didn't pull away, he gently held her, careful and respectful, as if afraid of breaking something fragile. They stayed that way for a long time. No promises were made. No expectations were set. He was simply there, steady and calm, offering warmth through the night. In that quiet moment, both of them felt something shift. Not a dramatic change, but a gentle one. Two people, each carrying old wounds, found comfort in shared stillness. As the fire burned low and the night deepened, the woman closed her eyes. Wrapped in warmth and care, she felt something she thought she had lost forever. Peace. And the cowboy, holding her gently through the night, realized that sometimes healing begins not with words, but with presence. Morning arrived gently, as if the world itself did not want to disturb the quiet that had settled between them. Soft light slipped through the windows, touching the walls and floor. The fire had burned down to warm embers. The woman woke slowly, her first instinct being to pull away, to return to the habits of distance she had learned over the years. Then she remembered where she was. She sat up carefully. The blanket still rested around her shoulders. The cowboy was nearby, awake already, sitting in his chair with a cup of coffee in his hands. He looked tired but calm, like someone who had kept watch without regret. "I hope I didn't make things awkward," she said softly, her voice filled with uncertainty. He shook his head. "You didn't," he replied. "We all need comfort sometimes." She nodded, though doubt still lingered in her eyes. Feelings like peace and safety made her nervous. In the past, they had often disappeared without warning, leaving her more hurt than before. She stood and thanked him quietly, then stepped outside to clear her thoughts. The morning air was cool and fresh. She walked slowly across the yard, breathing deeply. The ranch looked the same as the day before, yet she felt different. Part of her wanted to stay in this calm forever. Another part whispered that she should leave before she became too attached. The cowboy watched her from the doorway, sensing the shift. He knew that silence could either heal or create distance. He chose his words carefully when he joined her outside. "You don't have to decide anything today," he said. "You can stay as long as you need." She looked at him, grateful but conflicted. "That's what scares me," she admitted. "Every time I've stayed somewhere too long, it ended badly." He leaned against the fence, looking out over the land. "I used to believe that too," he said. "After my loss, I avoided connection. I thought staying alone would protect me. But it only made the emptiness louder." She listened closely. This was the most he had shared about himself. Sometimes, he continued, being careful keeps us safe. Other times, it keeps us lonely. Each lost in thought, she helped him prepare food, her movements slower than before, as if she were afraid of breaking the fragile balance between them. He noticed and made small jokes, lightening the mood. A soft laugh escaped her before she could stop it, surprising them both. That laugh stayed with her. It had come so easily. In the afternoon, she decided to walk into town. She needed space to think, to remind herself that she still had choices. The cowboy offered to go with her, but she shook her head. "I need to do this alone," she said. "I'll be here," he replied simply. The town felt different now, louder, sharper. Faces passed her by without notice. She realized how heavy the world had felt before the ranch, how tense she had been all the time. The contrast made her chest ache. She sat on a bench near the old cafe, remembering the night they had met. Back then she had felt invisible and small. Now she felt stronger, but also unsure. Did she deserve this peace? Could it last? As evening approached, she found herself walking back toward the ranch without fully deciding to. The choice felt natural, like following a quiet pull. The cowboy was fixing a gate when she returned. He looked up, relief clear in his eyes, though he did not comment on it. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said after a moment. "I just needed to see the world again." They ate dinner together, the conversation gentle and thoughtful. She asked him about the land, about the seasons, about how he learned to live with so little noise around him. He answered honestly, admitting there were nights when the silence still felt heavy. Later, as the sky darkened, she spoke again, her voice steady but emotional. "I'm afraid of hoping," she said. "Hope has hurt me before." "Hope is risky," he said, "but so is closing yourself off completely. I don't know what tomorrow brings." "Neither do I," he replied. "But tonight, you're safe." She exhaled slowly, letting the tension leave her shoulders. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that uncertainty did not always mean danger. That night, she slept deeply, not because she knew what would happen next, but because she trusted that whatever came, she would not face it with fear alone. The next morning arrived quietly, just like the days before. But something felt different. The woman woke with a calm heart and a clear mind. For once, her thoughts were not racing. She lay still for a moment, listening to the gentle sounds of the ranch waking up. Birds moved in the trees. Somewhere, an animal shifted in its stall. Life was going on steady and peaceful. She sat up and smiled softly, surprised by herself. She did not feel trapped. She did not feel afraid. She felt present. When she stepped into the kitchen, the cowboy was already there, pouring coffee into 2 cups as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Good morning," he said. They sat together at the table, sharing a quiet meal. There was no awkwardness, no pressure to fill the silence. They had learned that silence between them did not mean distance. It meant comfort. After breakfast, she helped him with small chores. They worked slowly, side by side, talking about simple things. He told her stories about the land, about seasons that came and went, about mistakes he had made and lessons he had learned. She listened closely, not just to his words, but to the honesty behind them. Later, she gathered the courage to speak. "I don't want to run anymore," she said. "I've been doing that my whole life." He stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "You don't have to," he said. "Not here." She nodded, tears forming in her eyes, but these were not tears of pain. They were tears of release. "I'm not asking for promises," she continued. "I just want to take things slowly, one day at a time." A small smile crossed his face. "That's the only way I know how to live," he said. As the days passed, she began to build a small routine. She found temporary work in town, helping at a local shop. It felt good to be useful again, to stand on her own feet while still knowing she had a place to return to. Every evening she came back to the ranch, greeted by quiet understanding instead of questions. The cowboy respected her independence. He never tried to control her choices or rush her feelings. He simply stayed consistent, kind, and honest. In return, she slowly let her guard down, piece by piece. They spent evenings talking under the open sky, sharing stories, sometimes laughing, sometimes sitting in thoughtful silence. She learned about his past, about the loss that had shaped him, about the years he spent believing he was better off alone. He learned about her fears, her doubts, and the strength it took for her to keep going when life felt heavy. There were moments of uncertainty. Some nights she would grow quiet, lost in old memories. He noticed and gave her space, staying nearby without pushing. Other times he struggled with his own fears of getting close again, but instead of pulling away, they talked, slowly. Honestly, one evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in soft colors, she turned to him and spoke the words that had been resting in her heart. "I've never felt like this before," she said. "Not safe, not understood, not calm. "Neither have I," he admitted. They did not rush into anything. There were no dramatic moments or loud declarations. What they built was quiet and strong, like the land around them. Over time, the ranch no longer felt like a place of escape for her. It felt like a place of growth. She began to plan again, not out of fear, but out of hope. And the cowboy, once used to solitude, found comfort in shared mornings and familiar footsteps beside him. One night, as they sat together watching the stars, she leaned her head gently against his shoulder. He did not move away. He rested his hand nearby, offering warmth without demand. In that moment, they both understood something important. Healing did not mean forgetting the past. It meant learning to live fully despite it. The story did not end with certainty, but with trust, not with grand promises, but with quiet commitment. Two people chose to stay present, to be kind, and to face life together one honest day at a time. And sometimes that is the most real kind of ending there is.